Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, peasants, serfs, knights, and knaves. Thanks for joining us for the second episode of Feudal News, brought to you by myself, Horik, and Crawdad.
Hey y'all.
If you guys are new to Feudal News, then first, welcome. But this is a little video series highlighting some game development updates and community issues on a weekly basis. So we'll kind of touch on different developments, patches, hotfixes, etc. Move on to any new resources that either Crawdad or myself have found to be useful, and wrap up with popular community discussion topics. This episode will be a little bit shorter than the first episode, as we've only had one patch this week as opposed to launch week's 3 patches, but it was a darn good patch.
Right, let's talk about this patch then. The main issue was that, or the main fix was they fixed the major server-side memory leak that everybody, or all servers, were experiencing, and this was the driver behind servers crashing just about every hour, or maybe even faster than that, depending on how many people were playing and causing the things that leaked memory. So with that fixed, it should benefit a lot of different aspects of gameplay. You're going to be able to have longer sessions and less frequent server crashes. So things like animals being in coops longer and making more dung for fertilizer, things like that should be improved, as well as trapping animals. All sorts of good things should come from this memory leak fix.
Right, just on a grand scale, the playability with this patch should increase a lot, especially for those crafting professions, or whatever you want to call them, like metal workers or farming, where you have a really long action bar or a really long crafting process, like heating up iron or chopping down wheat for 10 minutes. And there's nothing more frustrating than having it almost completed in the server crashing and having to set the whole thing over again, and all you did was use up billets. There were some more bug and functionality fixes added, kind of revolving around laptop video drivers, and there was another one where players would get stuck having a certain weight equipped on their character even though they'd taken the items off. So it's nice to see them constantly fixing little things like that.
Speaking of farming and harvesting time, they did significantly reduce the time it takes to harvest crops and skin animals this patch. So that's a really welcome change, and the time it takes now also depends on the type and quality of the tool you're using. So that adds a bit more depth and should lessen the load there on the farmers. Another crafting issue fixed was the alchemy effects learned from different herbs were being forgotten when the server would crash. So with that fixed, it should be a lot easier to find the combinations you need or want to avoid for doing the whole alchemy process, which is great. They also fixed some problems with private databases so that the files should not be being corrupted, but certain security programs and antiviruses can still corrupt the server files, so make sure you have those disabled if you're running a server. There's nothing else apparently that you can do about that right now.
They also added a couple tweaks that I was happy to see. The main one for me was the alignment system. They shaped that to work a little bit better. So Crawdad and I have both been flagged as criminals from leveling up weapons on each other. But now, if you're hitting a friend that you're in a group with, you will no longer be flagged as a criminal. So you can go ahead and beat your friends bloody without really any repercussions, except for maybe, annoyed friends or something, but who cares about that?
Sounds pretty good. We might have to do some more weapons training later.
Right?
They also fixed some cosmetic issues, like adding in the texture for paved roads. So that should be a lot nicer to look at now. Instead of black streaks, there's the actual road texture. And another gameplay issue fixed was flax occasionally rotting in tanning tubs and things like that. But let's go ahead and move on to the community discussions topics for this week. Alrighty,
well, here we go then. Popular topics for the week. So there's continued to be a lot of discussion on both the Steam forums and the site forums, but it's kind of been a repeat of all the same stuff from the last week.
Right, that tends to happen with early access games, is people get really excited about it. I know we are excited about it, and they want the final product soon, a lot sooner than is reasonable, and a lot of the discussion tends to be centered around that, like when does the MMO come out, and when the MMO does come out, will players still be able to play your own version then? And the answer is yes, you will still be able to play this version when the MMO comes out. They are two separate games. You'll still be able to host the server and play whenever you want once the MMO is live. So if you have a community that you get going and get a strong connection, you can continue to play this game once the MMO is out.
Right, that'll be a good thing for people that kind of have a really nice little strong community niche set up in their server. For me, I'm personally looking forward to the MMO. I think that's going to be the really fun part of the game. Another topic I wanted to touch on briefly again was griefing. This seems to come up almost daily. The patch this week did block some griefing, one of the things that people have been doing a lot, a common troll tactic, you might say, was putting items floating in the air. So you could grab somebody's loom and I don't remember how they did it, but you could throw it up in the air so no one could get to it. You just have a loom floating around. And the devs took steps to make this so that it's not possible any longer. And it's really nice to see them eliminating the little annoyance areas in the game. I personally have really high hopes for the MMO and lack of griefing based on their land claim system, or even your own version if they roll out a land claim. The information I'd read originally isn't on their website any longer. I did some hunting for it and it's gone. So this may be something they're reworking or they wanted to take down, but I'm running from memory here. But just realize what I'm about to say is subject to change and may not be correct any longer. Initially, when I read it, though, the land claim system was you would lay claim to a parcel of land, and that land would pretty much be immune from any sort of tampering, and people couldn't do anything on it unless they were given access by you. So what that means, say you claimed 50 by 50 grids of land, no one could farm on it, no one could dig a mine on it, no one could cut down any trees on it, or just mess with it in any way, shape, or form unless you gave them access to your parcel of land. And so I think that, if that is still the case, will be a huge deterrent for griefing and really probably solve just about every problem.
Well, that
But
sounds great.
yeah, actually, let me say something. Since that's not really very set in stone right now, let me see if I can go ahead and try and get an answer for you guys next week and come back with something a little more solid from the devs. Since that information has kind of disappeared, I'd like to get a little bit more legit answer than just me pondering.
Good idea, and I'm sure they will come up with something that ends up working really well in the final game. But for now, that's it, Feudal Fanatics. That's going to do it for the second episode of Feudal News.
Apparently this is my day to add one more thing, Craw. So if you viewers out there have anything you want to see covered in the game, I don't know if you guys have popular discussion topics you're seeing that you'd like answers to that we're not covering, or if you're, creating a resource for the game, either a guide or a YouTube channel or whatever, and you want it called out, anything like that, please let us know. This is really supposed to be just a little fun, dorky thing for the community and to find little snippets of information. So we'd be happy to draw attention to anything you guys are doing or want discussed and go from there. So we hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we'll come back for next week's episode and see you guys out there. And remember, life
Is
feudal. Thanks for watching, guys and gals. Please like or subscribe.